Hello, everyone, and welcome to From Surviving to Thriving, where we don't just talk about the pretty aspects of business. We talk about the mindset shifts, the challenges, and everything in between. My name is Robin Carr. I'm your host. I'm an award-winning international keynote speaker, author, and focused on leadership and resilience, and the founder of Thrive, unapologetically. And today I have the absolute pleasure of having with me Lydia Urban. She is a business owner and a coach who works with high functioning women who have dealt with trauma and need to regulate their nervous systems to come back to who they are and who they are meant to be. I am super excited to have you here and for this conversation, Lydia. To kick us off, tell me a little bit about what inspired you to want to begin your business and offer these services.
Yes, thank you so much, Robin, for having me. I'm happy to be here. I think the thing that inspires a lot of us are the experiences that we have. And typically, what happens is life shoots you in the direction that you're meant to be. And that's exactly what happened to me, where I was dealing with abusive relationships, abuse of myself, addiction, attachment mishaps, really just dysfunctional in every single other aspect of my life, except for my job, my schooling, the academic side of life. That was my anchor in life. So that was almost my coping mechanism, was to work, 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 work. But when it came to everything else, it was chaos and a big mess. So on the outside, it looked like I was functioning and happy, but on the inside, I was struggling with all these different aspects of my life that I didn't like about myself. And so spiritual awakening happened against my will. it was
Right.
it was traumatic
Usually does.
and yeah. And it forced me to confront a lot of the shadows that I was trying to hide from the world. And from that journey, I really got gifted with the spiritual equivalent of like an AK-47 and a shaman at my side. So I learned how to truly regulate my nervous system, uh, ask those really hard questions, reflect, and learn how to come back to who I am so I can direct my life from a place of sovereignty and not from a trauma response.
Absolutely love that. And I'm just going to pause for a second and tell you how much I appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty. There's a lot of synergy in our stories, and I too hid, in the shadows for a long time and tried to just deal with it all on my own. And it's not easy to talk about, even, later. So I love your journey and that you are now able to share your story. So thank you so much. When you think about all those years hiding in the shadows and trying to deal with it all on your own and just pushing harder, just one more thing, and you were going to prove your worth because you were going to get that next promotion or do whatever. Um, what was that like? Like, do you wish now, knowing where you are, that you had, you know, shared that story sooner so that somebody else could maybe have helped you in your journey, or are you grateful for the way that it happened, or both?
I am I'm actually really grateful for the way that it happened. Of course, having that support and telling your story to those people that you thought were going to be your support and didn't end up supporting you was a stab in the heart, like
Mhm.
talking to your parents or your best friends and they're like, you're crazy, or they
Yes.
just don't want to acknowledge you and they totally dismiss you. Like that really hurt, but it also
Mhm.
made me extremely resilient. I've paved my own path, really. I've always been a leader, even if it's a leader of one, where I'm like, I'm going to follow what I need to do for myself. And had I had that support, I would have had influences that maybe weren't the best for me.
Mhm.
And so I'm grateful for how things evolved and the person that I am today because I mean, I feel as though my journey has been so intense up to this point. I front loaded all my karma that like I can get through anything, you know? Like, I'm good. Like, it doesn't matter what happens, I'm gonna be okay.
Absolutely. I love that attitude. I'm right there with you because once you go through stuff like this and then you do make your own path, it's like, okay, like what's next? But also though, like you are good and it's a totally different way of being good. Um, I give a analogy of having surgery when I speak on stages. And like I used to live my life as though, you go after surgery like 5 to 7 days after post-op, and then they take that bandage off and they're like, okay, like you're kind of good, but you're not fully healed. That's how I used to live my life. And I used to think that I was healed 5 to 7 days after surgery. And now like seeing the difference, it's just totally different. So yeah, I love that. So now that you work with these high functioning women and you are able to be that support and to be that, voice of reason to help them center and to help them, come back to themselves, what does that do for you? Like, how is that exciting, or like, is it fulfilling, rewarding? Like, what does it actually do for you? Is it all the above?
It's all of the above. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it because I see myself in all of these stories. I was working with a woman that was dealing with suicidal thoughts, and we were at this retreat, and I'm like, we were on a circle and she was listening to all the stories of resilience of these people and all the things that we're going through. I said, when I see your story, I don't do this for myself. I do this for you. Like,
Hmm.
and you are doing it. You're continuing to move forward because there's so much beauty in the world and there's so much connection and goodness when you are able to be vulnerable and when you are able to truly be seen and witnessed by somebody else and witness somebody else. You can create that connection of like, oh, I get where you're coming from, and see yourself in other people. And so that was able to really make her like open up and share her story and be able to receive other people's stories and know that we're all on this journey together and that we're all moving forward. And even though maybe, it seems overwhelming, that we're going to get through it. And the more that we lean on our sisters or lean on our brothers, our safe spaces, the easier it can become.
Yes, absolutely yes. And especially when you have those really good people around you. Like they're the stories that you need to listen to, the right type of influence, not the ones that really want to change your journey, but the ones that want to help you and they want to be there for you. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, within that question, I mean, it validates the reason why I had to go through all those things. It validates the power of what I went through and the amount of resilience I had to have, and the questions and the chaos that ensued around me. Everything from like the spiritual warfare that I dealt with, and like really being caught up in disillusionment and caught up within the etherical realm, but then also dealing with the physical pain that happened to me and how I contributed to that cycle of trauma, and how all of that came together for me to have this big awakening to figure out how it is, or how it is I'm still here.
Right.
And how can I use this to find my purpose and to bring that pain into purpose? Because otherwise, if I didn't utilize my story and utilize what I went through, all of it not necessarily was for nothing, but it doesn't help influence others on their journey and help ease this world and raise the collective consciousness, which is my whole goal.
I love it. That is a fantastic goal. Absolutely. So I have oh, hang on 2 seconds. This is the one I warned you. We'll jump right back in. Okay, so sorry. This is why I don't do these live. Um, yes. So jumping right back in. So I use a theory called, oh, let me take a breath. Hold on.
Yeah, think about
Okay. So, when I speak, I talk about that your past does not define you, that it prepares you. And that's so true because like what you just said about how you had to go through all those things and none of those things happened to you, but they happened for you.
Oh yeah.
But being able to like be cognizant and aware enough to actually see it through that lens, it's so different. And it took me a long time because I was like, no, all these things happened to me. Like, why am I being punished? And yeah, gosh.
And that's like something that we go through in some of my programs is how to change your perspective.
Hmm.
Um, like victim mentality is everywhere. And it is so easy to fall into that when you do have these difficult things that happen to your life. I mean, everyone has difficult things, but when you can't relate to anyone because you grew up poor and have an abusive father or an alcoholic mother and you didn't have anything to eat and you had to wear baggy clothes and you were made fun of and you were sexually abused or all of these things that seem as though they are like, well, I'm different than everyone else. It does, it can evolve into this victimhood mentality. And if you get attention through that victimhood, then you're never going to change your life because you get the attention that you've always been seeking for. But when you become a victim, you give away your power and you give away actually designing the life that you want. And so it's a level of awareness. And I love how you said that. It's awareness, it's presence, it's actually taking inventory of yourself, of your actions, of your thoughts, of your words, of your behaviors, of the things that you listen to and the food that you consume and the people that you hang out with, and take inventory of everything and be fully radically honest with yourself. And
Hmm.
that's the hardest part.
Yes.
That is the worst tasting medicine because it's easy to lie to the whole world, but it's really difficult to lie to yourself because there's always that where you know the truth, you know what's going on. And when you continue to lie to yourself, you become this split person, which, what we were talking about before the camera started rolling is, you start having this double life of the shame that you hide and the person that you put out to the world, but then also the person that that needs to be held and accepted and loved for all of their story, for their wholeness, for everything that they've gone through and everything that they've done because of what they've gone through. And so, changing your perspective is the number one key. So I focus on mind rewiring,
Hmm.
learning the why,
Yes.
somatic therapy, getting it out of your body, like really processing the emotions to finish that fight or flight cycle, and spirituality, finding your truth within the fact that we are all co-creators of this universe and that we have the power to work with God, work with the divine and spirit to create life.
That is so beautiful. And I love that you just said that so eloquently. Absolutely, completely, fully agree. So in your work, because I've met people on different sides of this fence, and I'm curious where you're at. Some people tell me that it is all the time 100% rewarding, like doesn't affect them at all. And then there's other people that are like, hey, I really love what I do and I love coaching and I love helping people that are the older version of myself, but also those sometimes it can take a toll on them and they have to really make sure that they stay grounded and centered. Does it take a toll on you or you're just like, no, I just love it?
No, I mean everything has its positive and negative sides. It's a balance. I think the hardest thing that I had to overcome was being seen
Mm.
and going through that wound. I mean, being an entrepreneur is one of the most spiritual things that you can do because you really have to trust. And so there was always that, and I'm still working through it. There's that feeling of imposter syndrome, and am I wise enough to teach this type of information? Am I helping people what they need? Like, yes, you get your validation, but sometimes on your days where things go wrong or you're doubting yourself, it's like, whoa, how do I stay centered, like you were talking about, and go back to my roots of the ritualistic ceremonies that you know are now embodied, but you have
Hmm.
to continue to do the maintenance work. Like, you still have to meditate. You still have to do your yoga. You still have to ask the reflective questions. You still have to be your own coach and then coach others, or then help others. So yeah, it can become a lot, but ultimately it's rewarding enough to continue. And I see the difference that I make in people, especially when we're in a session and they end up breaking down and crying and feeling for the first time, when they say, thank you so much. I've never had it said like that. I've never had it heard like that. I've never felt so seen. And
Hmm.
you're healing a part of them by witnessing and being the witness. And so it's this beautiful law of reciprocity that when I see you, you see me, and we can heal. And that's just reflected in nature as well. Like, nature gives us everything we need. When we look at a tree, it thrives, it opens up by being witnessed.
Hmm.
And so when your story is heard, even though it's scary, you can start owning all of you and living unapologetically.
Is that on purpose? That's the name of my brand. That is literally my business name.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah,
Yep,
no, it wasn't purposely, but it makes sense.
that's awesome. Nothing happens by coincidence. That's amazing. So people become grounded, and then when they work with you, they're seen, they get their story heard, they get to understand and accept a new part of themselves. Um, what does that journey look like though? Because for some people listening, because we have all different types of listeners, they may not understand what a nervous system is truly. Like they may think of it, as the brain and very physical aspects. But also some people may not understand the journey. So is it like a 30-minute session and it's like, okay, I hear you, you're good, I see you now, or like 6 months, a year? Is it ongoing?
Yeah,
Walk me through what that looks like for you.
so I have a couple different offerings. So I do retreats. I work with plant medicine retreats as well, where I work with shamans. And so we, set the intention in the container beforehand. We ask you like, what do you want to gain out of this? And then you come to the ceremony, you do the plant medicine, and I work with you after, because that's when the neuroplasticity in your brain is open and ready to be rewired. And neuroplasticity is just a term for, I like to describe it like a river. Like,
Hmm.
the more you recreate habits in your life, that action creates a deeper groove in your brain. But when you do plant medicines, it rises that groove up. So you're easily able to change your life and rewire what you do if you work with like a coach like me, or you are really intentional about how you take action afterwards. So I do aftercare for plant medicines, which is all about affirmations, mirror work, some somatic therapies like tapping and breath work, and um, hugging yourself and squeezing. I've got all these different modalities when it comes to somatic therapy. And then when it comes to the different containers I have, it's a 6-month program. We meet once a week for an hour a week. It's basically a cheaper version of therapy.
Hmm.
But what I have noticed, that when I was in trauma therapy, I was like, okay, we're going to deep dive into this really, really powerful journey that you've been through, this really powerful experience. And then, okay, it's done. and you're dropped on your head and you have to go back to work and you're all emotionally charged and you're like, how do I deal with this? Like, I just had to go back into my childhood trauma. What I like to do is I like to do a lot of the reflection work in the beginning, and then the somatic therapies in the middle, and then the rewiring afterwards. And so it's this really beautiful process that helps close that container so you're not as emotionally charged after the session, and it builds up so that you're ready and you're comfortable with me enough to know that I'm here for you and that I care about you. And so it's not just, okay, we're going to do this session and then you're going to go. You're actually going to do the somatic therapies and close out the container, come back to stability, come back to center, and then you go out throughout your day. And we keep a journal from the very start to the beginning so we can see and hear the transformation from when you first started to when you finish, and how your life has shifted. So I like to see the new you at the end of it.
Absolutely love that. And I really feel like that's how therapy should be. Like that's really like what you and I are doing in this space is it should not just be the, okay, tell me how you feel. How does that make you feel? Okay, great. Have a nice day. Like it should not be so cut and dry like that. So I love that you hold that space and that you do it intentionally and thoughtfully so that people do know that they can trust you. And so like if they are spiraling, if they are having a bad day, because we're humans, right? Like we have bad days. And even if you're on a good trajectory, you can still have a bad day. And having a person like you on a bad day, that's just so powerful. Because I mean, if I was your client, I would be more likely to call you than I would my therapist. I mean, that's just
Mm-hmm.
how it works.
And I feel like I'm sometimes more available. Like, there's, when it comes to that therapy, there is that bureaucracy. It's like, well, we can't communicate outside these specific hours. Like, if you have a
Hmm.
problem, just text me and I can help you. I've also created a container within Facebook, so it's called Collective Wisdom Drop, which is I just started it because I was like, I need a space for my clients and for my people to come and be able to share their experiences in a safe container, while also sharing their wisdom and asking for advice if they need help when it comes to spiritual awakening, when it comes to addiction, when it comes to these pains, when it comes to somatic teachings that we all need in order to move through the fight or flight cycle and to complete that so we can then move on and be stronger from it.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I love that. And I think that it is great that people can learn not just from themselves, that they can see that other people are there too. I think that's phenomenal. So if there's people listening right now and they're like, hey, you're speaking my language, like I need all of these things. How do they get in touch with you? How do they find you? What's the best method for that?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of just done my first name and last name. So my name's Lydia Urban, and it's spelled with an H at the end of Lydia. And you can put it in your comments or however you do that.
I will.
But it's just at Lydia Urban on Instagram, or you can join the Collective Wisdom Drop Facebook group, or you can just reach out to me on email, and it's at lydiaurban@gmail. So it's very simple. You can also go on my website, lydiaurban.com.
I
Make
love
it easy
that.
to find
Right.
me.
Nothing like keeping it simple. That's awesome. All right. So, one last question for you, and then we're going to wrap up. But for those listening right now, what is one piece of advice that you would give them, or two?
I got lots.
I know.
One of the biggest things that helped me was feel it to heal it.
Mm,
We really need to learn how to feel our bodies. Every single thing that happens is remembered in our bodies. And when you start feeling your feelings and you create a safe container for you to feel your feelings and express what you need to express, you can then start understanding why you are the way that you are, and start leaning into the uncomfortability instead of fleeing it and distracting yourself with social media, music, food, sex, drugs. And you can start really coming home to who you are. So feel it to heal it.
Oh,
And then go ahead, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
My tagline, I guess, is stay strong, stay sacred, and surrender.
Mm,
And right there in that middle is that sacredness. It is your strength within your masculine and your action and your work and your intention, and then the sacredness or the surrender of letting go and allowing and being free to be open to the possibilities that are going to come to you. So when you meet in the middle, that's where that juicy sacredness is.
absolutely love all of that. You're just dropping gold right now. So thank you for that. Um, and honestly, Lydia, thank you so much. I feel like you and I could be really close friends and then we could just talk all day.
I'm
Um,
down.
let's do it. So, but for everybody else out there, thank you so much for joining us today. And I want you to always remember, whether you are in the middle right now, I want you to know this. You're not behind, you are becoming. And that is what thriving really looks like. Bye, y'all.